So I'm going to start recording and I'm going to start broadcast now.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, this is Alan Seaton from InSource. We'll just give it a couple more minutes. People are still joining, so if you can bear with us, we'll be talking to you very, very soon. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, which is covering the new features and functionality becoming available in the next release of Data Academy, version 6.7. We're also going to cover options for data loader performance improvement. My name's Alan Seaton. I'm the Client Solutions Manager here at InSource, and I will be the moderator for today's session, so I've got the easy piece. Pei Wang, Graham Digweed, Stuart McNaught, and Mark Lamb, all from our product development team, will be taking you through the individual presentations. Today's webinar has three main sections now. The first on new features in Data Academy 6.7, the second on data loader performance improvements, and the third on our logistics portal, the new place to go for all things to do with Data Academy. And then we'll wrap up with a brief roundup at the end. Firstly, a bit of housekeeping. Hopefully you should all be able to see slide just changed to have the agenda on it. If you're having any issues seeing the presentation, have a look at the help facility that's available as a menu option in the GoToWebinar control panel. The webinar today will last no more than 60 minutes, I promise, and we will be recording it, just so you're aware of that. Questions and answers. We have included time for questions and answers at the end of each session. To minimize background noise and interference, all attendees are muted, so we can't hear you. If you have a question, please type it into the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. Don't wait till the end or you'll probably forget. Get them in them as you think of them, and we will attempt to answer them as best we can at the end of each section. I'll read the question out and put the presenter on the spot to answer it. After the broadcast, we'll send you a link to the recording of this webinar. Please feel free to share it with any of your colleagues who you think might be interested in seeing it. Please ask us if you'd like us to send you a copy of the slides, and we'll be pleased to share them with you as well, and you'll see more of that later. Okay, so without more ado, I'll hand over to Pei to kick off with the first technical session.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Pei Wang. I'm working in the product team to build new features of Data Academy. Great to be here to share some latest progress with you. Nowadays, we are using all kinds of software products at work or at home. Two common things for a good product from user experience point of view: simple to use and efficient to get job done. We are aiming to provide you with the same great user experience when using Data Academy. It's an exciting journey. Where did we start? Based on feedback we received, we thought there are three key factors. Number one, navigation. As a data developer or BI developer, we are living in a complex data management and processing world. We want to get a big picture. We need to know where we are going all the time. Number two, search. It's a great way to improve efficiency and productivity. No matter how complex a data model is, we could search more keywords and locate our data destinations quickly. Third, customization. We'd like to support and empower you to do things based on your circumstances. For example, you may need to tailor menus or group functions or create shortcuts in different ways. I'm eager to share with you how these key factors are covered in the new version of Data Academy. Just before we dive into the demo, here is a comparison on the homepage of the current version and the new version of Data Academy. Let's get started. I'm already logged in the Data Academy web application. On the top, it's similar to the previous version, but perhaps you notice we are using tabs instead of menu bars. So on the left side, we can see this is the new navigation panel. We can resize it or resize based on different requirement, or we can collapse it. The whole idea of this panel is we can have the navigation side by side with the content panel at the right. So on the right is the content panel. Let's go through each of the parts. So for the top tabs, we can switch between the tabs. We go to different function area by switching tabs. All of the tags on the tabs can be updated. And also we can set the icons based on your requirement. Let's come back to the main tab. Let's have a look. We see the search buttons here. Let's skip this for now. In the main part, we see the traditional drop-down menu items are listed on the panel, or actually each of them are the root node for a tree. If we click it, the difference now is we are integrate the dynamic data elements into this panel, so we can see all of the, for example, data loaders we are working on this panel. The same principle, if we can see all of the transformation and packages, or we can have another example, we can see orchestration and modules. So the whole idea is based on this tree structure, we can get an overview of the solution. In this demo, we can see this is a very simple structure, but in reality, perhaps your solution is much more complex and massive on the panel. I think another good thing is this can be a communication tool for you to use to share your knowledge on your solution with your colleagues. When we need, we can go into each of the module. We can go into the details. For example, we go to the adventure work data loader. Then we want to see tables involved in this data loader, and then they see all of the tables listed underneath. We can even go further. Let's go down a bit. We can expand the table node. We can see the all of the fields of the table. For example, we can see a contact ID is a primary key, and we can see the ID in the database. We can see other fields as well. One more question is how we can see more details of the tables of the fields. So if we click the table node, we see the form. All of the we are very familiar with the form of the table. We can go down. We can see any of the details of a field. Similarly, we can go up. We can see the details of a data loader. Or we go up, we can see the all of the data loaders in a single list. That's a similar principle we are using. For example, we can go to transformate, and then we can open up a transformation and form, see the details, and then we can see all of the tables, all of the fields. Yeah, just one more click. You see, because some of the data are quite big, so we have the loading icon you just saw. If it takes time, you know what the system is doing. Let's see one more example. If we go to one of the orchestration, then we can bring up the workflow of the orchestration straight away. On the very top, we see the search. In many cases, we want to bring back some information we would like to know. For example, I would like to know what's the contact used in different places, so I can go into the search box and input the box to a search. So we can get all of the tables, the modules come back for the contact based on the search criteria. We can know lots of things from the search. In many cases, for example, we want to know the field, so we can give a field name, and we can untick this box to include fields in the search. So we do another search, we click the search icon, and then we can bring all of the fields with contact ID come back. So we can see how this field is being used. For example, we see this is a primary key, a contact ID in the contact table. We see other tables are using reference this as a foreign key. And we also see the same field, how it's being used at different steps of our process. We have a button to reset the search, so we can come back to the original status. You can see the search is a global search. It's cross module types, modules, and tables. It brings back results from all different parts of the solution. Also, in the demo, we can see we are using a very small data set, but you have a question how performance in a high volume data environment. We use the search functionality for weeks in one of our testing environment. It has 500 modules, 6,000 tables, 88,000 fields. The search is very fast and performs very well. Let's move on a little bit more on other tabs. So when we click other tabs, we can see the original drop-down list in the panel as nodes. We can expand the nodes to see the hierarchy structures. We can click any of the nodes to see the details. For example, we can go to error logs or event log or whatever. A good thing of the navigation tree is we can very easily to switch between multiple tasks. We talked about customization at the very beginning. We know we can customize the menu system based on different requirements. We can also customize the for different user group. We can have different look and feel. As you know, the menu system in Data Academy is data-driven. For different user groups, we can tailor different menu for security reason, for any other reason. Similarly, we can show or hide the navigation panel depends on specific circumstances. For example, for business and users, we may need to hide the left panel, and so user can focus on their own forms or dashboard. In this case, this can be easily done by configuring some additional settings for user groups. Also, we can customize some our own tabs, bring all of this Load 8, GL 8, this node to a different tab. Even more, we can bring the module node to different tab because we don't have time. We don't have time to go through every single steps of this. Briefly, the menu and the navigation tree can be configured for different purposes. All of this can be done in the menu organizer included in the Data Academy admin module. So that's it. The navigation tree in Data Academy version 6.7 provides a simple, streamlined user experience, hopefully to help you to get job done more efficiently. Any question?
There's only one, but it's a good one. Yeah. You've always done a good job there. Yeah, when's it going to be available? When 6.7, when you get their hands on it?
So 6.7 is currently internal release for beta testing. It's nearly ready. We're just going through some final testing phase, and we hope to get it released next month in May.
Yep, my colleague Graham just answered the question. I will hand over this to my colleague Graham. If you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pei. My name is Graham Digweed. I'm just going to talk to you about a new feature in 6.7 called SQL to Dataset. So, firstly, what's the issue? Well, most of our developers tell us from the feedback that they do their SQL queries first using Management Studio. And then you've got to start from scratch when you get to Data Academy. What would be lovely is if you can just copy and paste. Once you've finished your query in Management Studio, just copy and paste it into Data Academy. So that's what SQL to Dataset is all about, providing you with the ability to copy and paste straight in, saving time and effort, reducing your development time, excuse me, and automatically create a data set based upon the SQL that you've just done. Now, you can edit it as well once you're within Data Academy. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. And we've also got our own interface, a little bit similar to Management Studio, for a graphical interface for creating and editing data sets too. So what can SQL to Dataset do? Roughly idea of it is it can do whatever you can do in Data Academy at the moment. So if you can produce a data set in Data Academy and get the SQL from that, you should be able to just do it using SQL to Dataset in Management Studio and copy and paste it in. So selects, table joins, where clauses, group by, having functions, aggregations, etc., and pretty much anything that Data Academy itself can do. SQL to Dataset itself is obviously going to be in transformations. That's what we're going to try and achieve, is a new transformation called SQL to Dataset with some examples in it. So let's see how we actually get there. So first thing to do is add a new SQL to Dataset transformation. Save it, drill into it as normal, and should see a couple of new buttons crop up. So add SQL. This is just a text box to type whatever you like in. So I'm going to start with a really easy query. So select start from a particular table. Now we're using the AdventureWorks database for this demo. If I just click save on that, it should only take a few seconds to save it, hopefully. And there we have it. Save that and run it. So just a few seconds for data services, hopefully to run that. There we go. And then if I go to Management Studio, hopefully what I can see here is if I just refresh that list, drop down to the bottom, got a brand new table, product list, 504 records, which, trust me, is what was in the original table. Now, that was just a starter for 10. If we just drill back into it, and actually edit the data set itself, let's say we want to make a few changes. So let's change one column to be the primary key, which was the primary key of the original table. So that's product ID in this case. So this is the same as normal. Nothing new on that particular one. But what's new up here is that we can click on the actual SQL and see the SQL. Now, for those familiar with this, that screen's changed a little bit, because what you used to see was just one long row of SQL that the Data Academy would execute. So this is formatted to make it a little bit easier. Got buttons to see the unformatted SQL if you really need to. But let's make some changes to our query. Now, we don't really need the global ID column in our query, so let's delete it. And let's say that we want to change it excuse me, just to get a different set of products out. So we're going to just change that to be where the cell end date is null, just to get the current list of products instead. Click save on that. You'll see that the primary key has been retained on that, and we've only got 24 fields because we've deleted one. Up the top, there's our new where clause that we've just put in. So we're good to run that. So let's just drop the original table. Run the new one. Again, data services just takes a few seconds to run that. Let's go back to Management Studio. And from 504 records, you'll now see that we've got 406. If we just had a quick look at the table design, there's quite a few columns in there, or rows rather. You'll see, well, you won't see the ID column because we've deleted it. You see that the product ID column is the primary key. So that was a really simple example on SQL to Dataset, and probably more simple than you'll ever use. So let's have a look at something slightly more complicated. So what I've got on this screen now is a query that maybe is a little bit more complicated. You'll see we've got a selection of fields in there. You'll see that we've got one that we've renamed. We've got an isNull function against the weight unit measure code field. We've got a max aggregation against the product cost history. We've got a case statement in there against the class. We've got two tables joined and a where clause and a group by because we've done an aggregation. So let's say that I spent a little while doing that in Management Studio, and I really don't want to start from scratch again. I just want to copy and paste that into Data Academy. So I should be able to just literally take a copy of that query, go to Data Academy, come out of the previous data set that I was in and create a new data set by literally right click, paste that in there and click Save. Now if I just come out of there and run that new, sorry, I just need to draw back into that and give the table a target table a name. So I'm going to call this one product names. And let's save that. And let's just have a quick run of that. There we go, that's complete. So now I should be able to go back and see the product names is 203 records, which is exactly the same as what the original query did. So we've got an exact match for that. So let's just have a quick look at what Data Academy did, just to make sure that it was doing what we were expecting it to do. So the name field is renamed to product name, which we can see from there. Weight unit measure code. If we just drill in, we can see the isNull function there that we had in our query. The standard cost we can see is max standard cost, and we've got the group function there. And if we just drill into the class field, we can see our case statement there. So SQL to Dataset was able to handle everything that we threw at it there. But let's say, sorry, we've also got the where clause in the advanced where clause there as well. So we've been able to create a data set and we've been able to update one there as well. Now the other thing we mentioned at the start was that we don't have to just copy and paste. We can create our SQL from scratch using something called Query Builder. Now Query Builder is latching on to the View It module that we introduced in a previous version of Data Academy. So it's very similar in some ways to Management Studio in the way that we have a list of tables and a working area. So for this example, I just want some product information. So I'm just going to drag and drop the product table, which has got quite a few fields in it, and the product model table. Product model ID is the common field, so we'll just link on there, and we'll just select a few very simple things. So we'll have the ID, the name of the product model, and the name of the product itself. Now we've selected two name fields, so obviously we need to rename those. So let's just call that one model name. And this one product name. And what you can see is that the query itself, the actual SQL for the query, is being built up down the bottom, and at the very bottom there's a results button. So if we just click on that, a little pop up, and we can see we've got three columns: product ID, model name, and product name. So those columns have been renamed. So that's exactly what we want. We can use that to check that we've got what we want. So now we're happy with the query. We'll save it. Give the target table a name. Select our target option. Save it. And run it. So just a few seconds and that's done. If we go back to Management Studio and just click on refresh, what we can see is product details. We've created a data set using a graphical interface rather than just copying and pasting the SQL in. So that was just an alternative way. You've got two ways of using SQL to dataset. You can either copy and paste your SQL in or start from scratch using the View It module. Now, those are fairly simple examples. So I'm just going to show you very quickly. That would be a much larger query. So I'm just going to pretend that I've spent hours creating that query. And then I want to go to Data Academy, add some SQL, paste it in there. We can see on this, we've got plenty of joins in tables, loads and loads of fields. We've got functions, we've got fields renamed, we've got calculations in there. We're trying to throw as much at it as we can. So let's just see how performant Data Academy actually is. Click Save, 44 different records in there. Excuse me. And let's just give the target table a name, select our option, save it, run it. Data services won't take too long. Just a little bit longer for this one because it's a larger query. And now that's finished. So we can go back, our original query, 122,579 rows. Let's just have a look at what we've just produced. So down there, product sales, 122,579. So if that really was a genuine query, you'd have just saved yourself a whole load of time doing it that way. So that's a quick roundup of SQL to Dataset and how you can use it. So let's just go back to the presentation, which is that one there. So we've seen how it works. And so from me is if there's any questions on SQL to Dataset or indeed the menu that you've just seen.
And there are indeed.
Oh, great. Lucky me.
Now you're in trouble. First question, I'll read it out. Does everything still only go into the Data Academy database with DBO schema?
Yes.
Okay. That answers it. Yes. Fair enough. What data types does the SQL derive in Data Academy?
So we're using the same data types as Data Academy already supports. So in the drop-down list, when you go into Dataset and look at those types, it should be able to support the same things. There might be some limitations on it. Like I say, we haven't finished fully testing this yet.
Okay. The next one, can it be from a stored procedure? That's SQL to Dataset.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. And the last one is, any improvements in importing spreadsheets, i.e., e.g., does it now handle spaces in XLS worksheet names? I guess that's not quite SQL to Dataset.
That's not to do with this. Sorry. Can you read the question again? So I was expecting a SQL to Dataset question.
Sorry, I warned you. Any improvements in importing spreadsheets, e.g., does it now handle spaces in spreadsheet worksheet names?
I'm not aware that it does. That's quite a technical problem that I'd need to look up to give a proper answer to, though.
Okay, well, we'll get back to you on that, Dilesh. We'll let you know. Any other questions, or we move on to the next part to do with performance improvements in loaders? Okay. Oh, no. Oh, it's another question from Dilesh about the spreadsheet. So we'll answer that one as well when we get back to on the first one, Dilesh.
Okay.
Keep them coming, though.
Thank you from me, and I'll hand you over to Stuart.
Hello, I'm Stuart McNaught, and I'm going to be talking about incremental data loaders. One of the big problems we've got with loading in data from different systems is the data is only ever getting bigger, and we're needing more data and got more bigger requirements on it. As a result, Data Academy offers the ability to make loaders incremental. The benefits of that is obviously you get faster loading of data because you're loading a reduced data set. It's taking up less of your network bandwidth and less space on your databases because you're only inserting the key number of records. Another subsequent improvement is the fact that you get downstream performance improvements, which I'll touch upon at the end. So a bit of a demo for this. We've got some loaders that I've put together originally, one called ProdDB Auto and one called ProdDB Modified, and these are just going to show us the difference between the incremental loaders that you can get. An auto incremental loader is where we're using Data Academy functionality to actually support where you don't have an accurate modified date within your source system. And to turn on an auto incremental loader, it's very straightforward. You have to change the source option from a full data load to either incremental load or incremental with deletes. I would always recommend that we also tick the load date. And what load date does is that when it loads the data into your model tables that you're going to be querying off of or using, it puts in a timestamp so that we're aware of when that record was actually inserted into the model tables. The other thing that you have to do is within the tables, you have to click More button and you have a source date modified field. This only becomes available when you've got it as an incremental loader, by the way. In this one, we've got a Data Academy function called #auto ##, which you put in, and essentially what it will do is it will import all the data from your model into your staging, from your source into your staging tables, and it will compare and work out what's changed. Another one that we can do in this is #all ##, which is for when you've got a delta feed. So if you've got your source system that only produces changes, in order to maintain and store all that history, you can put it to #all and it will only insert those changed records. When we're looking at that, we can also then look at modified date one. So modified date fields, modified loader uses a modified date, and it's as simple as that. If in your source system you've got a modified date that you're confident of, and that's the important thing, you've got to be confident about it, because there's been examples where they've got a modified date in their source system, but someone can do something to a data item through their front end that doesn't update that modified date, so it never comes through. If you do have a modified, an accurate modified date, you can put in that date field. Now, you can also actually put field functions like an isNull. So if you had multiple modified date fields that you wanted to check, you can put an isNull field around that. Now, in kind of a Blue Peter sense of the way, I ran the loaders as a full loader yesterday to get some timings for this. And this is only just for a demo purposes. Now, if we run an auto loader, the first time it ran, it took, give or take, almost a minute. And it inserts all the records and it updates all the records. If you run the modified date, it takes pretty much the same time as you'd expect, and it inserts all the records. Now, at the moment, we ran that yesterday. We've had no modifications to our table. And by the way, the table that I'm running into this is a million rows, just to give us some relevance of data set. If we make no changes to this, we can then run the steps for an auto loader and a more modified date loader. Now, The autoloader should take longer than the source modified date loader, because as I say, it is loading in all the data, and it is actually then doing essentially a accept statement between the data sets in order to work out what's changed. Now, I think when I ran these before, they take about 30 seconds for the auto one. And if I click into this, hopefully we should get some data flowing through to that. What I'll do at the moment is I'll also go and run the other loader so we can not waste too much time. So we can see the modified one has actually finished already. Because it's inserted no records because there's been nothing changed, it's taken 2 seconds. Obviously, significant improvement against a minute. If we look at the auto one, the auto one is now completed. Again, it has taken about the same time as a full loader, and it's basically updated all the records, but it says it's updated, but it hasn't actually updated all the records. It's inserted all the it's done all the loader, and it's run in about 48 seconds. Now, that is not obviously a significant time improvement, but what the benefit you get from that loader of knowing the modified date is that you're actually able to use that downstream, as I said before. So you could use that in mapping data in that's only changed, or doing calculations to fields that have only changed. And that's where you get significant improvement. So if we now go to a quick query that I created earlier, which is update the top 100,000 records of that table. So it's only 10% that's changed, and we go and we run the loader for the auto one first, and then we'll run the loader for the modified one. Now, whilst those are running, I will just show you what it does. So basically, the modified date one in the sys package part of it, when it loads it into staging, looks for anything greater than or equal to the last completed date for the loader. There is a functionality within it to be able to set the incremental window. So it goes back to midday on the day, midnight on the day that it last ran. You could change that to say, go back another day or 3 days or whatever suits you. In the so that only returns obviously the records that have changed. So there we go. It's imported 100,000 records. It's updated those 100,000 records because we've not actually added the new ones, and it's all worked in about 9 seconds. Hunky dory. The auto incremental one, again, it's taken slightly less time than the full loader by a few seconds, but it's only inserted the 100,000 and updated the 100,000 records into our source system or into our staging tables. We can see that by querying. So I've got my two tables. Mod, which is the modified date table, and auto, which is the auto incremental one. And if I run just looking for this string of testing, because I only updated it to testing, we can see there's only 100,000 records in there. We can also go by the modified date, no, not modified date, load date, and we could group by that on both. Two seconds. And we should see that 900,000 of them were loaded in yesterday, and 100,000 of them were loaded in right this second. So the benefit obviously there is that we now have a modified date that we can be happy with that's changed, and we can then insert, and we can then use that for downstream performance. So how do you decide which loader, which incremental processing to use? As I've kind of touched upon, if you've got a reliable modified date in your source system, use that. If you don't, then use the hash auto. You can use a combination of both across loaded tables. So if you've got a table that's you're happy with the modified date in, use on that one. If you've got a table that you've not, then just go to auto for that one. It really depends on your implementation. As I was saying, that when you've got a load date in your loader, you've obviously got the ability. You can use that. You can create spaces to make them incremental, make them append updates as opposed to truncates using a date constraint. If you want to process all the records for, say, one customer, you can use that load date to identify which records have changed which customers' records have changed, so you can reprocess all their records. When we do our next user day, then we'll touch upon transformation spaces and using load dates for incremental processing. Are there any questions?
Yes, there is one so far. Nice easy one though, Stuart. You got it light. This is all coming in 6.7.
Nope, this has all been around. I think it seems about 6.5, but it's just functionality that we wanted to share and let everyone know and be aware of.
Okay, so it's in 6.5 and 6.6.
Most of them will have them already. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then I shall hand over to Mark Lamb for logistics.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Stuart. Gosh, that was quite a whirlwind tour, but very informative, so thank you. Okay, logistics is our new portal for passing on all of our information and product details to yourselves. It replaces an older logistics portal that we used to have in place. So this one's a bit shinier and a bit newer and hopefully a lot easier to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take you through the application itself. So I haven't actually got any slides to present to you. So I've been told to press Alt and Tab on my screen, and there we go. So what we will do is we'll contact you and give you the details for the logistics site so that you can register yourself. It does require that you have a Microsoft Online account, which we can then associate with our SharePoint site on which logistics sits. Now within this environment we have a number of portals that support all of our different product sets. The one that we're looking at today will be Data Academy. So from our landing page in logistics, you'll see that we have a button to click on the Data Academy website. So if I click on that, it will take us to this particular portal page where we can now have a look at the different areas that we've got for you to browse. Now the idea of logistics is first and foremost to allow you to access the latest install files for Data Academy. So you'll find all of that information under the product downloads section. Now together in there we now present all of the release notes, so you get to see what's new in each of the releases. I'll come back to this section in a little bit more detail, but I just want to give you a brief overview of everything else that we have. So the top row that you see in the logistics portal is basically all of the information that you may want to download or read. So we have our product downloads, but we also have our wikis and our knowledge bases. These allow you to browse all of the technical documents that we've written that support the Data Academy application. So for example, things like the incremental data loaders, which are quite complicated topics, we actually have some articles which will help you understand those topics in more detail. We also have some documents which are like white papers or such like, which will go into more depth, but we would suggest that you read the wikis and the knowledge bases first if you need any help on those subjects. The second row of our logistics portal gives us an opportunity for you to interact with us. So it's here that we present an area for you to take code that you've developed in Data Academy and to share it with the Data Academy user base. So we have a truck stop area which allows you to take individual elements of your Data Academy solution, so something like a data loader or transformation space, or maybe a combination of those things, and post them up to a user community. So if you've developed something that you think is useful and that you'd like to share with your colleagues or your community, then upload them here. We ourselves will also make use of the truck stop area from time to time when we want to create some examples for you to work with, or maybe if there's some small training sessions that we want to present to you. So sometimes knowledge bases may guide you towards a truck stop to download example files. We also have an applications area. This will work with another feature of Data Academy, which will be called Product Manager. So this allows you to create a complete solution within the Data Academy framework and then to present it as a product. So our applications are wrapped up with a licensing element and are saved as a Data Academy pack file, or a DPAC as we call them. And these applications can also be shared with the wider community. And again, we may make some of our own applications available via this mechanism. So, as well as being able to share code, we also have an area for you to share your thoughts, or just to discuss things about Data Academy. So we have a forum, and in that forum area, we encourage you to put up your ideas about things that you're doing, or questions that you may have, or ideas that you want to present to the development team. So, for example, if you have some new feature ideas, then post them on the forum for us. So we'll have a look at that as well, just to give you a bit more detail in time. And the final item on that row is the support element. As it stands at the moment, it's not a full ticketing system. It's merely a guide to show you the type of information we require from you if you come across an issue. So it's a template of an email which will give you prompts for providing us information on the version of Data Academy, how you got to your particular issue, what we need to do in order to recreate it. So it's basically information that we require in order to help you. Finally, the last row in our logistics site is information about what's going on in Data Academy. So we have a news and events section, we have a development team blog, and we also have some resources. So I'll show you those in a moment. So just a quick overview of the products, because I haven't got that long.
You don't?
So the products area, we actually have a page where you can download the latest releases, or you can go back and get any of the archived releases from previous versions. Thing to note with Data Academy is that we support various versions of SQL Server. So you'll see on the right hand side we have a little note explaining how those versions of SQL Server are identified within the product releases. And also it's worth bearing in mind that the versions numbers are not synchronized across those different SQL versions. So what we're saying is a version 6.616.10 is not the same as a version 6.608.10. So in our release notes, you'll see the equivalence of the versions. So just a quick look at the latest releases. If you click on that link, you'll then get a page which allows you to download the right version for your SQL instance. You can use the breadcrumb trail at the top to go back to the root page, and then you can download the archives as well if you so wish, of which we've categorized them into all the different major releases. Now, what's gone into those releases? Well, we have a release notes section. So if you click on the release notes, it will take you to a page which will again describe about the versioning, but you'll now see a list of all of the issues that were resolved, or all of the new things that we've added into these Data Academy versions. So we're trying to make this information more transparent to help you decide which versions you need to install. So navigation of the portal, we've tried to keep very simple. So when you've finished with a particular section, we would recommend that you click on Data Academy Home to go back to the main navigation page. So if you want to have a look at wiki articles or knowledge bases, you can just click on each one and you'll get the article title with a brief synopsis of what it covers. Now we have a number of articles in here, some of which was ported over from our existing site, but what's new about this one is the search feature is far more in depth. So for example, if we're looking at something like incremental loaders, maybe there's a particular aspect about using date constraints. So I can type in my term of date constraints, and once I've searched for it, it will go through the entire SharePoint site for Data Academy, and it will bring up all articles regarding that. So you'll see there's preview pages for some wiki and knowledge-based articles, but we also have some other areas where they've come up in forums and such like. So I'd recommend that you use the search criteria for looking up information within Data Academy if you can. The Other sections like the truck stop, we've organised into various categories so that you can post all of your code into the right areas. So browse these as you log onto the site to see if anyone's posted anything of interest for you. But I think the best way to promote that is to actually mention your changes in the forum. So if we skip down to the forum area, it's here where you can post articles to us, and we can also post articles to you and respond to them. So we've created some general category areas, and we've also got some discussions going on. So you can see that there's a forum article here about SQL to Dataset. So if I was to click on that, we can actually see that Graham posted that yesterday in preparation for this seminar. And he's also put a link to the truck file, which is stored in our truck stop. So you can now download this and actually implement it on your own system if you so wish. And if you like it, you can add a comment and you can sort of create a discussion, not only with us, but with the wider Data Academy user base. So we encourage you to communicate to us via this mechanism. I think I want to just rattle through one more section, and that will be the news and events. It's here that we will start to post announcements about future Data Academy user days. Now at the moment I've only got a placeholder in here, so the screenshots that you're seeing here are just a sample of what we will present to you in time. But you'll see that we'll have events listed in here, and you can now sort of subscribe to those via the main corporate website, or we'll take you to another landing page where you can register your interest on those events. I think finally, we need to contact you to help you get your registration in place. So that's something that we'll do outside of this session. So we'll give you instructions on how to do that as well. So that's all I wanted to say about logistics for now. And obviously, if we have any questions, hopefully you've been typing in whilst I've been speaking.
Yeah, there's one, but you've answered it really, which is just how do you get access to it?
Right, okay.
And the easiest way, probably, if you require access, is drop me an email or drop an email to the service account, service@dataacademy.com, and we'll send you all the information you need to set up your Microsoft account if you don't have one and get access to logistics.
Yeah, so what we've got here is we've got a page which describes the steps in order to create a Microsoft account and then for us to register it within logistics. So we'll send you a copy of this page so that it guides you through the process. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks Mark. Audience, those of you that are still there, most of you are, I hope you found that useful and you're now eager to get your hands on the 6.7 release as it comes out. And if you don't already have access, get access to the logistics portal. If you have any questions you think of after we've finished today, then do please email them across either to myself or to service@dataacademy.com, or if you already have access to logistics, you can of course go in there and start up a question thread if you want to raise something. We want to run more of these sessions in the future, but we want to ensure you get maximum value. I prefer face-to-face meetings rather than doing it via a webinar. Please do let us know, again, either via email or perhaps better. Once you've got access to logistics, start a thread going there, and then your colleagues in the community, your peers can give it the thumbs up if they think that's a super idea, and then we'll get the hint of what's the popular things you'd like discussed going forward. As I said earlier, we will be sending all attendees today a recording of today's session. Do please share that with your colleagues if you'd like. I think with that, we will call it a wrap. Thanks for your time, and I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye from here.